I've got one more question. It's not so much a question. It's more like what advice would you give to anyone that's currently in like like as a developer and stuff like that, and seeing all these ups and downs that are going on, particularly like like Xbox is catching it right now, and a few other companies out there like Embracer Group needs to get their act together and stuff like that. Ubisoft, like, what are you doing? So yeah, just any words of advice for any of our developer friends that may actually be listening.
Sure. Man, it is really, this is the biggest. I was talking to somebody today. I can't name, who's been in the industry and active in business development for a long time, and I really enjoyed this conversation with this guy. He's like, it's the worst I've seen, and he's been in the industry since '92. He's like, there's been nothing
Jeez.
like this.
My entire life.
Yeah, exactly. There's been nothing like this. And in my since 2002 when I started, I agree. Listen, the cost of games has risen dramatically. And listen, games still make what $180 billion a year or something, so the money's still there. It's just going to fewer and fewer properties. There's this huge COVID caused this huge, and it's funny because over the last couple of years, I wish I could seen it coming more. You saw it coming, but not to this extent. So not only did COVID cause a bump in sales of games and amount of hours played, like, huge, right? I think that's one of the reasons why Wastelanders was successful, because again, it sort of followed the heels of Doom. Remember when Doom Eternal was released and was beyond the pale hit because it was like the first game come out in COVID, and then Wastelanders came out. So you saw this huge upsurge in not only playtime in sales but investment, right? So all these people are chasing the money train, which again, like any bubble, sooner or later they burst. And it has clearly burst. And the cost of games has gone through the roof. You saw the leaks from Sony, how much those games have cost. The margins are so thin, and when the budgets are that high and the margins are so thin, people get really skittish. They get really skittish because it just takes one minor hiccup, like bad competition that day, like I don't know, solar flare that takes out satellites, and your game doesn't sell, and you've done a lot of money. Like, who knows? There's a lot of variables there. So anyway, and then what you see on the backside is what I didn't see coming. I don't think anyone really saw. It's funny. A friend of mine at one of these big publishers definitely identified it. You saw there was so many games delayed because of COVID, and they all came out at the end of last year. That's why we're all still playing. That's why we're all mystified of what our game of the year is. We're all barely, like, everyone is still going through their backlog from 2023, right? And so that hurt game sales badly because they all came out at the same time. There was like something like 50, 60, 70 AAA games came out last year, and the vast majority of them did not hit their numbers. Not only their expectations, but their sales. So it's like really bad. And you're seeing big publishers reeling from that. You're seeing very, very skittish on investment. And it all makes sense. There's no blame. And the problem is that like most sea changes or tides, they affect the little people the most, and the little people in this industry are the game developers. They just are, and they're being thrashed about, and it's scary. It's really scary for them. Now it will pass. It will pass. No one knows when. The same person today said he's seeing green shoots, but it's still very early. And overall, the famine is still here. So while the field is still fallow, he's seeing hope. But again, like, those green shoots can take years, like, to actually grow into something. So it's really interesting to see. A lot of these publishers are going to have no catalogs for 26, 27, 28. They're going to have almost nothing to actually put out. And that's tough on a publisher
Yeah,
too.
kind of like basically Sony's looking at the conundrum right now.
Yeah, they're definitely looking at it. I mean, you've seen how we talk about the drip drop of certain games. Well, even having like one major release a year is better than none
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
right now.
listen, not to be pure doom and gloom, but so the things that'll be interesting is how Star Wars Outcast Outlaws, whatever it's called,
Outlaws.
does, how at Assassin's Creed, Dragon Age, Space Marine. So how the big hitters this year do. That'll be the first, I think, thing. So if those sell well, I think they'll get more bullish next year. If they don't, it's just going to stay the same or get worse. Then you're going to have some. I have no insight into this, so please don't take this as me breaking NDAs or anything. Sooner or later, they're going to want to do another console cycle. And if they think that consoles are going to sell the same as they did in COVID, that is never going to fucking happen.
No.
So if they do these expectations, if they cut the goat open and read its entrails, and they're saying we're gonna be 10% over what we sold in COVID, Oh my God.
I feel like COVID console sales for sure were an anomaly because there was so much there was so much working against the consumer that it was insane,
Absolutely.
like people were still like when the pandemic hit and like we had the Series X and S and the PS5 drop and stuff like that. People were still making their actual regular paychecks and stuff like that, but once the actual like employers started like cutting back hours or even shrinking down workforce because like, hey, like nobody was in the building, so like why do we have to allot for like all these workers and stuff like that. And then it basically like the economy, there was like, I want to say there was like 7 different factors going on with the economy all at once during COVID. And
absolutely.
and yeah, so people
remember,
were,
you had stimulus checks too. You had
that too, that too.
You had stimulus checks. You weren't spending. You didn't need to fill your tank with gas.
Yep.
You weren't going out to eat so much. Once you started DoorDash, and the guy that almost put me in the poorhouse. But you're seeing, you weren't going out to concerts. You had so much more disposable income. So a $500 console was like no brainer.
Yeah.
How many hours? I was like, oh my God, I'd get one immediately. How many hours am I going to get out of this? Right? It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, plus you have like PC and all these other competing platforms now. Cloud gaming is actually sort of a thing now. Like I don't know what they expect to happen when they finally release these. But if we're going to meet or beat COVID sales, that's fucking madness.
Yeah.
I saw, particularly in my friend group, I saw a huge shift away from consoles during COVID, funny enough, to PC gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you couldn't get them.
Most of my friends went out and just built a PC at that point.
Yeah, because the only thing that was hurting them was getting a graphics card. That was the only thing that was hurting them.
That was it.
And thank God, Nvidia was still producing the 1060 because that was like a champion for like 5 years for Nvidia.
Yeah.
Yep.
In PC gaming is now the dominant. Like there was a few, like when early days, I remember people would get another thing. PC gaming's dead. It's going out. Like that.
It was a thing for nerds.
It is over 50% of gaming now. Like, so you can't.
I don't know who told that lie.
PlayStation is. That's why PlayStation is releasing games on Play.
Sony. Which
it's a no-brainer. Releasing a 4-year-old game and it shoots to #1 for all platforms.
Yeah.
Wait till Ubisoft games come off Steam. I don't know what their exclusivity is on Epic, and you'll see. And again, they're talking about the Grand Theft Auto is probably going to delay their game. They have always delayed their games.
Yep.
And so you're going to have the same thing, the double dip, like I did. I got on console because I had to play it, and I got on PC as soon as it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Rockstar.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
They're good games.
Especially,
I can be happy to say I haven't double dipped in quite a few years. I think Monster Hunter Rise was the last game I double dipped.
Great game.
Yeah. Especially if GTA 6 gets delayed, like, or on PC like they normally do, like it's going to be the 30 frames to 60 to uncapped is what people are going to
It's going to be a huge jump.
Yeah. Because
but we've seen PC gamers they're a stubborn bunch. They'll wait.
Yeah.
They won't buy a console. They're going to wait. So.
Oh no, I don't like.
Just ask Rob about Alan Wake 2.
Quality these days that you can afford to wait.
Yeah. The only reason why I have a PS5 is because I'm a podcaster.
Yeah. There's the Sony exclusives are amazing. So are the Xbox exclusives these days, honestly. But the thing is, you can get them on PC. So
well, I remember calling it out on my Crossroads podcast show back when it was primarily a PlayStation podcast show. I remember calling it out that like games like Ratchet and Clank, Returnal, Ghost of Tsushima, they were all going to show up on PC, and I had people like hate mongering me in my comments saying, "Oh, that will never happen. Look where the fuck we're at. I called this shit."
I don't know why anyone gives a shit who plays your games where.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Of all the things in the world to get upset about, this is low on the fucking list.
Yeah, I always
you've got a pretty great life if that's one of the priorities to complain about.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You're enjoying a game on a console I don't own? Fuck you. Like, that's insane.
I tell our audiences all the time, like, like when a game comes out on a console that's not absolutely dedicated to come out on or a platform and stuff, like the gamers are fucking winning. Shut the fuck up. Like,
especially now with like
gamers are winning.
Especially with like cross-platform play and cross-save and all these things now too, right? Like you don't even have to worry about, oh, my friend is playing Call of Duty on PlayStation and I have an Xbox, and oh, our buddy has, he's playing on the Steam Deck or whatever. Like,
like that's the guy that needs to walk out in the traffic.
Jeez.
That did not come from my mouth.
That did not come from my mouth either. That was LaRon.
I tell people all the time. They know my socials are in the show notes. They can come find me anytime. We can have this conversation.
Oh, jeez.
But I do want to answer a little more directly. Like, I really feel bad for people who are starting their career right now, or early in it. It's hard and it is scary. And there are still people. There are still people hiring. Jobs are still out there. The thing that's scary to me is a lot of the remote work from bigger studios is waning. I saw this thing, like most CEOs, they're trying to kill it by 2026. I don't understand that at all. I don't want to get into that right now. I like, if you do good work, who gives a shit when or where you do it? It mystifies me. This sense of control and dominance that certain people have to exert on one another. That's just my take. We are full remote, and my staff does fucking amazing. Like, it's not I don't need to babysit them. I treat adults like adults. It's amazing. But anyways, I feel terrible for them, and it's really hard. And you're going to see a brain drain. You're going to see people leave this industry. Watch. You're going to see a brain drain. They really are.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.